Hi, it's Jordan1, and in this video I'll be showing you how to make my new Star Stitch bracelet. So you may be familiar with the Star Stitch if you crochet, and I've taken this stitch and adapted it to the rubber bands, and I have the single chain in the middle, and then there's a row of star stitches on one side and then a row on the opposite side. So the one I'm going to be showing you in the video today is this middle one with the rainbow colors. But you can see here I did a red, white, and blue pattern where I alternated with white in between every row here. And then this one here, I made the colors opposite one another. So for these two, it kept the same color across from one another, and that one I did opposite. So there's lots of different color choices and patterns. As far as your band counts go, you're going to need somewhere around 250, maybe a little bit less than that. It all depends on the size of your wrist. So each little star section equals about 1/2 inch, so you can kind of base it on that if you measure your wrist. So for the one I'm going to be making today, I'm using black for the center chain, and I have 36 of those. And then you can see I'm going to be doing rainbow colors. So I have 42 of each of the pink, orange, and yellow, and then I have 28 of each of the green, blue, and the purple. I'm going to begin by making a chain, and I want my chain to be 34 bands long. And so you may have more or less depending on the size of your wrist or depending on what project you might want to make. So however many you chain is going to be the length. But you will have to pick an even number because it does have to be a multiple of 2. So for the chain, the very last band is going to be the first color of the star. So I want it to be 34, so I'm going to chain 33, and then that 34th stitch is going to be my first color. So the way that you do this, it's quite easy to do. You take a band and you double it on your hook, so I'm just twisting and putting it back on, so I have the 2 loops, and I am going to count this as one of the chains, so this is going to be 1. I'm going to take my second band, grab it on your hook, just going to pull it through those 2 loops, and then get it back on. So that's going to be 2. Again, you're just going to grab the next band, slide it through those 2 loops that are on your hook, and then just get it right back on. So that would be 3. And really that's all there is to it. I'm going to just pull through another one, get it back on, so that'll be 4. And then again, this is my 5th one. So it helps if you have your bands counted out, that way you don't have to worry about your count as you're doing this. You know when your pile's gone that it's done. So I think I'm going to fast forward through this part just because it is very simple. So you can pause your video here and then just chain the amount that you need. I've now completed my chain of 33 black bands, and I'm going to do my last one that's going to be pink, which is my first color of my Star Stitch. So I have counted out 7 bands of the pink because each one of the little stitches takes 7 bands. So if you want, you can do that just to help you out with the counting. So I'm going to take my first one of this color, and it's going to be my last one in the chain here. So that's my 34th stitch. And now what I'm going to do is work my way back here. So I'm going to be working in through the front, from the front to the back. So we can see that this pink is through the last black. I'm going to go to the previous one before that, and from front to back I'm going through the 2 loops. Going to take my second band of pink, pull it through, and get it back on. So now you can see we have 4 loops here. 2 bands, but there's 4 loops. And I'm just going to keep adding these on, so it is going to get pretty full. So I'm going to the previous chain here, through from the front to the back, and I'm going to pull through my next pink band, or whatever color you're working on. So now we have a total of 6 loops. We're going to do 2 more, So I'm going to this previous stitch and I'll pull through a pink. So that makes 8 loops, and you can see every time how I'm pulling back and holding these with my finger just so they don't slip off, and it also gives me a clearer view of what I'm doing. And then I have one more going through, and I'll pull this pink through and get it back on. So now you should have 10 loops, and if you want you can count them. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you should have 2 bands left for this stitch. So I'm going to take one of these, and what you can do, and I will suggest this if you're a beginner, is to take a clip and attach it to this rubber band, just so it gives you a little bit of something to hold on to, and also it helps prevent this loop from sliding all the way through. Or I should say this band, not loop. So you're going to get this on your hook, and also I would recommend that you pull down on your chain. That just sort of opens up these bands and helps it slide through, because your hook does easily get caught up on bands you don't want it to. So I'm going to pull through all of those and then get the other end here back on my hook, and then I can take the clip off. And then you should have one left, and I'm going to take that and pull it through the 2 loops on my hook and back on. So we've now made our first star stitch, and so we're ready to switch to another color if you're making it more than one color. So I'm going to do my orange. So I've counted out my 7 orange bands, and I'm ready to begin my pattern. So the first thing you're going to do is go through this center part here where all of these other bands are through, and I'm going to call that the eye of the stitch. So while holding these in my finger, the ones that are on my hook, I'm going to go through from front to back through this eye. I'm going to take an orange band or whatever your next color is and pull it through. Now before I get the other end back on my fingers, since I am changing color, I'm going to pull the orange through the 2 pink and then get the other side back on. So it's very similar to a slip stitch in crochet when you're changing color, just because we want the pinks to be as close to the other pinks as possible and not bleed into the next section. So through the eye is your first stitch, and now the second one is going to go through in between these 2 bands, which I'm going to call the posts. So you can see that this pink was going through the chain, and then the previous pink is through a chain, and if you pull those apart, that's where we want to put our hook through. So I'm going from front to back every time, in through, so you can see I'll stretch it apart, how I just went through that opening. And I'm going to take my orange and pull it through and get the other end back on. So again, I'm going to be adding the bands on here until I have a total of 10 loops. So you can see we have 4. Now the next one is going to go through the same chain that the previous color is through. So I have a pink through this chain. Now I'm going to go through again and pull an orange through. So 2 bands are going to share that same chain and back on my hook. So I have my 6 loops. And now the last thing is going to go through the last 2 chains, working our way to the left. So 1 in each, so I'm going through front to back. So I have 8 loops, and then 1 more time through the next chain. And that should make my 10 loops. So again, if you want to, you can add this clip onto your next band that you're going to have to pull through all of these. So you just want to grab it with your hook, pull down on the rest of the bands, and then slide this through all of the loops. Get the other end back on your hook. You can release that clip. And then you should have 1 left that's going to pull through these 2 and back on. So here's what it should look like. I think it has a pretty cool look to it. It kind of reminds me of like a firework. And then we're just going to keep repeating that same pattern. So now I've counted out my 7 yellow, and I'm going to show you this pattern a couple more times. You're going to go through the eye first and pull through your first band. And then before you get it back on your hook, don't forget you have to go through the previous 2 if you're changing color. And then the next one's going to go in between the 2 posts here, so just spread that out and you're running in between, pull through, and back on your hook. So you have 4 loops. The third one is going to go through the same chain that the orange or your previous color is in. So that makes 6 loops. And then your last 2 are always going to be through empty chains. So there's 1. And 2. Whoops. So you should have 10 loops, and you should have 2 bands left. This one wants to keep jumping off on me. And so now I'm going to attach my clip, and then I can pull this through all 10 loops. And if you do get hung up on some of these as you're pulling through, you can just stick your hook back and retrace a little bit, because sometimes that does happen. I can take this off, and then finally I have this last one to go through the 2 loops. And now I'm going to switch to green. Now again, it's going through the eye. And then don't forget you have to pull through your previous colors first and then get the other end back on. The next is in between the 2 posts. The next is through the chain that the previous color is also in. And then the last 2 are through the empty chains. And then when you're done that, you're going to have the total of 10 loops on your hook. You'll have the 2 bands left. And this time I'm not going to add the clip, but you can certainly still keep doing that if you feel like you need it. Get the other end on, and then 1 more left. And then I'm on to blue. So I'm going through the eye, and then doing sort of like that slip stitch to change the colors. Next, through the last 2 posts here connected to the chain, through the chain that the other color is through, and then the 2 previous empty stitches. You have all of your 10 loops. The next blue band is going through all of these. And then the last one is going through that. So I have 1 more color left. I'm going to do purple. So let me show you this one more time, and then I'll let you finish this row out on your own. So you're going through the eye, you're going in between the 2 posts, you're going through the chain with the previous color, and then the next 2 empty chains. Your next band's going to slide through all the loops. And then get it back on. And then lastly, it's going through the 2 loops on your hook. So I think it's coming along pretty nicely here. You can see how it's looking. I think it's a very interesting design. So I'm just going to continue on, and I'll repeat all of these colors in the same pattern till I get to the end. So for right now, what I'm going to do is take a clip. I'm going to take an S clip here, and I'm just going to attach it through these 2 bands on my hook, just so that doesn't come apart. So now you can see the pattern that we made, and I think it looks really cool. And you could make a bracelet just like this and leave it like it is, but I like a symmetrical look, so what I'm going to do is repeat the same pattern on the opposite side. So what I'm going to do is, on this opposite side of the chain, I'm going to do the same star stitch pattern. And I do want to start on the same side that we initially started on, so it's going to be the opposite end of where your clip is from where you just ended. And I am going to keep my colors across from one another the same, but you certainly don't have to do that. So I have my 7 pink bands, and then I'm going to also need 1 band of my main chain color, which is black. So if you look here, we have our first pink here, that was the first part of our star stitch. And then we have the next chain color, the main color. It's this next one after that, so it's my second black that I want to go through. Yours may be a different color. And I'm taking that other black, pulling it through and back on. So that's like we chained 1 here, and then I'm going to chain a second one with my color that I want the star stitch to be, so I have the pink. So now you can see it's like we've already gone through this one black on the end, so we're just going to work our way over to the left. So this next one here I'm going to go through. So it's just like the way that we first started, how you're having to go through all of the chains till we get one of the stitches made. So that's my second band, going through the next chain for my third band. And then again for the fourth. And then one more time here, you can see that the pink and the orange are both in that. I'm going through that as my 5th chain band. So I have the 10 loops on there, and now we're going to follow that same pattern where we're bringing the next band through all of the loops, back on your hook, and then that last one is going to pull through those 2. So from this point on, it should be pretty easy. You're just repeating that same pattern. Let me just go through the orange with you. So I'm going through the eye, and then the slip stitch, and then in between the posts, I have the shared one of the chain, and now it's the next 2 chains. And of course they're not going to be empty this time, but you can see that first chain has the 2 colors, that shared color, and then the other 2 are going to have your same color if you're keeping them the same. That is, if you're making orange on both sides. And then I'm pulling through. And then the second one. So again, I'm just going to fast forward here, and then I'll show you what to do at the end. Now I've completed my other side of star stitches and I'm just ready to finish this off. So I have the two of my center color left, two black, and what I'm going to do is take my hook. I have the two yellow loops on here. I'm going to also go through this very end black chain stitch. I'm going to take my black color or whatever your center color is, go through all of those and get it back on my hook, and then I'm going to take a clip. So I have an S clip. I'm going to attach it through those two loops. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side here. Let me just get this clip off and get my hook through these two yellow loops. I'm just going to go through this top center chain here and pull the black through all of these loops and then get it back on. So I have the two black loops and I'm going to take my clip and attach it. So that's what it's going to look like, and I am going to finish it off with the two clips just because it's a little bit of a wider bracelet. So then you would just go to the other side here and attach your clips to the other end. And let me do this other side here. And so now your bracelet is complete. I hope that everyone loves their new Star Stitch bracelets. You can always leave me comments on YouTube and Facebook, post pictures of your creations to my Facebook page, and please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can stay up to date on my latest tutorials. You can also find me on Pinterest and Instagram, so please feel free to subscribe to those as well. Thanks for watching!